Hello, hello. Welcome to the fourth round of the Competier Open Series. We're still waiting for the drivers to join, and then we'll go right into qualifying. Welcome to the fourth round of the Competier Open Series. We're still waiting for the drivers. Figuring some stuff out really quickly. Andri is also joining, new in our series. Looking forward to how he'll be performing here. We're still expecting, if I see correctly, Robert and Szilard. We'll hope they can still make it. Robert is going to be looking to putting it on P1 here, I'm pretty sure. Considering that the very fast drivers we have on the series aren't participating in the first round, Kai is going to be there in the second round. So I'm sure Robert isn't going to want to waste the opportunity of a comparatively easy P1, depending on how good Andres is. And of course providing that Robert is as good on Spa as he's been so far throughout the series. Let's go on board with Noah for the first flying lap. Goes all the way to the right here in order to ensure that he gets the best possible exit onto the beginning of his lap. We get braking point for T1 a bit behind the 100 meter board. Then make sure you're back early on the throttle here. Look pretty good. Provided you hit Eau Rouge properly, you can do it flat out. So this is just a full flat out section until the end of the first lap. That didn't look very good. A big bump on the inside curb that you shouldn't really be hitting. It looked like it should still be valid, but it was definitely pretty tight. The lap of Andries that you see obviously being an outlap. To stay tight here so you can go back to the left for this corner. Not quite there, but it still looked pretty smooth. To here, making sure you reach the apex very late. That looked very good. On the limit, slightly deep but not too deep in the way that that corner has to be driven. Bit of a slide here in the middle of the corner. A lot of correction going on there throughout it. Hits this well, and because I really want to know every time I'm going to look at the grip 97.3, so kind of what's expected here for the beginning of the session. Still some grip improvement to go, and I think we have everyone on the server now. Big wobble here, clearly not sure where exactly he's supposed to position his car between those two corners. Always a compromise in those compound corner combination where exactly you want to be between the two, so you don't have to slow down too much for the first one and still get a good exit out of the second. That looked good, pretty easy flat. We're very far to the right there, and I'm now struggling a little bit to get on throttle. Maybe still has to get used a little bit to the exact conditions, but to be honest, a 37.7 isn't that bad. Seeing how much improvement he could still be making, I think that's good for him to see as well. You know, that wasn't a perfect lap, and the time is still pretty decent. Andri's coming into bus stop. So far significantly slower than Noah. Well, the bus stop itself looked a lot better, I would say. A lot smoother. With an invalid lap actually, okay. Probably wasn't pushing throughout. I assume he invalidated in Eau Rouge. That's really the top spot to do that here, because these cars can do it flat. But if you don't hit it perfectly, you run risk of running a little bit wide on the left at the top of the hill. Watch it here. If you turn in, well, a bit of a wobble there. Now he does. I think he did it again. Maybe it was valid, but he definitely had to lift. And lifting there so late costs so much time here over the Camel Straight. Very important that all these drivers manage to get at least one lap where they don't make that mistake. Charlotte with a 38.2. Also decent time to start off, but she's going to want to get it into the 37s at least. Missing, going way too early back on the throttle here there for messing up the corner, but he was, including this 1 second slower than his previous lap, so I assume that he was already a bit down on time. Let's see what Charlotte has to offer. Her first sector is matching Noah's purple at a 45.7. It's going to try to improve on the 70.1 second sector, which would have already been pretty decent, I think. So if she can do it a little bit better than last lap, then you'd already be looking at a mid 37 at least, I think. Bit wide here, now has to make sure she gets back to the right, so this corner isn't compromised, but that looked pretty good, good recovery. Bit of a slide on the exit. Very careful in there on the entry, but gets out of it very cleanly. However, the lap overall just a bit too slow. We might have missed an error there from her. Oops. Takes the sausage. See what Noah is doing, provided he wasn't in the pits, which he might have been. Yeah, I think he was in the pits, so this is an outlet now. I'm turning in a bit early, hitting the curb, almost invalidates there, but the green stuff is still in full extension of the track. But it looked like he was thinking about that too much, about what he just did, and then completely missed the corner, goes on the grass, and is going to reset now for another run. Charlotte 45.5 in the first sector. If that was valid, then it was the best so far. I'm not sure if she went into the pits again. The timing at the center top looks like it, but I know it lies sometimes. We don't see a time for them, we do see a time for Charlotte, so maybe this is a valid lap. But now we missed her coming out of the second sector. They are both purple though, so if this is a valid lap, then it's not bad by any means. Making sure to not do what Frank did earlier here, a bit wide. I think she lifted a little bit there because she was scared that she would invalidate. Definitely not the perfect end to her lap. Coming into bus stop. Very slow here, so she gets far to the right, so prioritizes the exit out of here. So I wonder if she did invalidate there, or at least mentally scrap the lap, or if it wasn't, or if it was indeed an outlap. We're not sure. But she might have actually invalidated there in Blanchimont. Robert on the server now, quite possible that he's going to want to go for last to first challenge. I think he can do it. With Finn, Luca and Kai not participating in the first race, I would expect him to be the fastest around here. Guess we're on board with Noah. Let's look at what Charlotte does in her first sector, and if I'm not mistaken, it's a 45.5 again. Which again is quite good, as Noah invalidates here, or if he doesn't invalidate, it's at least very slow, so let's switch over to Charlotte. Picks a braking point into here, make sure you're not way too early. She sticks on the inside for a bit long, not able to accelerate back out, but it was still pretty clean. Just didn't push at as much on the entry as you could have. Here also a bit conservative, not running wide there on the exit. Europe improved slightly so far, but with the amount of cars that are actually still running, only 3 cars regularly on the track, the improvement in grip isn't that big. Throughout the session we will see a bigger improvement throughout the race. Again, not sure what the timing in the top center is doing right now. I didn't see a sector timing. Don't worry too much about that. It could still be a fast lap for Charlotte. Very careful there on the entry. Didn't push as hard again. It's a 37.8, which is unfortunately slightly slow, 1.4 tenths than Noah. I think with a slightly more aggressive bus stop, that would have been it already, and she stops. Maybe not enough fuel. She would have still had 30 seconds, but that's it. I think Noah is looking to maybe not improve on this lap in particular, but at least still start another one. Early on the throttle, look good. Is he going to drive valid throughout here? He doesn't. He invalidates. So that's it for him then. So let's look at the start-finish line really quickly as Frank comes over. There's a 2:42 so far and improves over half a second, if I'm not mistaken, to 2:41.9. Unfortunately, not an improvement in actual grid position. But still a bit more confidence for the race. Zillert, I think, only did an outlap. So that's where the 3:22 comes from. Andre slotting in between Charlotte and Frank. That could get very tight in the race with Noah and Charlotte apparently capable of very similar times. It looked as if Noah peaked very early into the session, while Charlotte's fast lap was the last lap she drove. And as we saw, that could have been Paul. Could have definitely been Paul. I was trying to figure out how much fuel they need for the race. I wonder how much time Noah and Charlotte are going to be stealing off each other, fighting for the lead, because that is going to allow Robert to try to go for it. Robert not quite believing Charlotte's fuel calculation, going for 1 liter more. Still seem to be in overtime for some reason. I think the game still considers one of the cars to be potentially on a lap. We'll see. If it takes too long, then I'll just skip really quickly. I'm scared of breaking the qualifying order if I do, though. Oh, there was still someone driving, was there? Sorry about that, I missed that then. So, that's Noah on P1, followed very, very closely by Charlotte. Then Andries, who was driving, I'm sorry about that, I completely missed that, and he actually made it pretty close to the two in front. So he's going to look to stick to them and maybe go for a move. We'll see how it plays out at the end of Kemmel into the first proper corner combination of this track with so much straight before that, and we know how powerful the toe is in these cars. And then Frank on 4th, Zillert on 5th. And Robert going to be starting from the 6th and looking to make it to the front of the field. Could be possible, 30 minutes. 2 drivers who I think he'll be getting pretty easily, then 3 that are a bit tougher than that. Colorful field. As usual, we've got some nice overview cameras here for the start. Make sure we don't miss anything. So revving their engines, honking, as they're supposed to. 4th round of the Open Series, let's go out. All of them get away pretty well. I think Frank was slightly slow to get away. As Noah slots into P1 but takes a tight line to make sure Charlotte doesn't get past, followed by Andries, and the others are already next to each other. Is Frank going to try to defend that position? Still Noah, Charlotte, Andries at the front, then Frank, Robert, Zillert. Robert already very close to Frank. I think he's preparing a move for the end of the Kemmel Straight. Let's go on board with him. Frank already damaged, so there was a collision in T1. Looked pretty tight. And Robert, I think, is clean pass. He already has the inside line, is already a car length ahead. Very cleanly done. Hoping the collision in turn 1 wasn't too bad. Lang's car looks pretty banged up, but some hull damage is usually not an issue with these cars. Noah taking a very wide line here. Charlotte is probably going to be remembering that, because that effectively opens a pretty easy overtaking maneuver. If Charlotte goes deeper into that corner and takes an early apex to then take a second one late in the corner while Noah tries to approach it from the outside. We watch Noah go wide, but I think Charlotte has lost a bit too much time before that corner to try to make a pass. She's going to try to stick it on the outside here, but Noah halfway defending it, so she can't really try to go side by side. And has to pull back and make sure she prepares a better move. Noah on the gravel, and I think that's it. Charlotte not fully passed yet, leaves Noah enough space. They get very close to each other, but Charlotte makes it stick. However, Noah has to draft now, and while simultaneously also getting attacked by Andres. The draft could be enough to save him at least second place for now, otherwise Andres would be getting extremely close now. He does have more toe though. Noah completely off the track there. I'm not sure how quickly he'll get a penalty for that. If he does, then he'll have to take it in bus stop now. I think he got a penalty there. Yes, he definitely got a penalty, and he has also let Robert by. That's very unfortunate. So either he got it there or he already got it in bus stop. I'm not sure if he had gone wide there, but he definitely did there now. So Charlotte is safely in the lead. Not a great first lap for Noah. But if he sticks it close to Robert, then there's a good chance that he'll still get at least some of the places back, as Robert is going to try to make it up, make it back to the front of the field. Andres 0.3 away with a clean Eau Rouge. Not a great Eau Rouge from Charlotte, so this is going to be a decent overtaking chance into the next corner. He should try to take as much toe as he can here and pull out once he really has to. Charlotte covering the inside. And now alongside Andres braking deeper, and I think he gets it done. Oh, Charlotte pushes him off slightly, but I think he is fine, but she isn't. And Robert goes past cleanly. Keeps profiting off the things that the others do. So already, after just the first sector of the second lap, Robert is in second. Super close here to Andres. Goes to the inside, but he didn't get any toe there, and I don't think his exit was actually better than that of Andres. But so many more straights to go. Surely he'll have him eventually. It's a matter of how much time Andres can cost Robert, and if he can coax Charlotte into attacking Robert again. Turns in a bit late for this, so not an optimal exit out of here for Robert. Looked like Charlotte got that significantly better. Oh, big bump draft. Not sure if I would consider that a bump draft. It looked like Robert almost lost the car there. Probably one of them steering in a little bit during the contact. Charlotte having trouble finding her turning point there with two cars so close ahead, and Robert is going for it, or at least he made it look as if he would go for it, and then Andres goes extremely deep. And Robert could try to get him here on this exit, but slides away on the green stuff, so that's gone again, that momentum advantage. And he's going to try again next lap. Amazing racing so far. Big bump on Andres, but he catches it, so we're all good. And I don't think Robert is going to be using this for an overtake, because he knows exactly that the punt to pass is going to yield a penalty. Very fair of him to go for the slight bump draft there and then try again another day. Or will he already try to do it here? No, he does. I like that. I like that he does that because he obviously still has a bit of an advantage here due to pushing him a little bit in the first corner. And it's quite nice that he doesn't try to profit off that, turns it into an overtake. So from this point on, he can try it again and not expect any penalty, I would say. Seeing all 4 cars on the screen from Noah's perspective, but Noah a bit further away now, and then again a bit of a gap between Charlotte and Robert, but they keep costing each other time. Lifting again here because he thinks that he can't make it safely on the outside there, which again is quite reasonable of him. He knows he still has a lot more time to just make one overtake. The only thing he has to ensure is to not get destroyed in the process, get spun in the process, and to not let Charlotte overtake back. Which, if she gets a good exit out of here, she's obviously going to try to do. Robert's still getting a bit of a tow from Andres, and Charlotte only getting a bit of a tow from Robert. So nothing's going to happen into bust up here. Robert closer now than I expected, to be honest, but again, bump drafts. And Andres goes deep, maybe wasn't expecting to be that much faster. As Robert loses the car in bust up and Charlotte just goes past to P1. That's a pretty cool move, using the situation of Robert trying to stay back as Andres was going off track and Charlotte just goes through. Again, a hit there into T1. I know that Robert really wants to get going, but bump drafting into the braking zone is not what he should be aiming for here. So he is going to be risking a penalty with that. Decides to let off the throttle here a little bit because he knows he's going to get this a bit cleaner than Andres again, and then the momentum advantage is going to allow him to get past, but you don't want to be passed here already, otherwise you have to make it work in this corner. But he decides to go for the bump draft again. Andres under a lot of pressure. He knows the guy behind him is just faster than him. Robert missing the corner. A bit scruffy driving from him right now. Also wants to make the pass, but so far it didn't seem as if there was a really good occasion for him to do it safely without risking a penalty, because he keeps bumping slightly into Andres in cases where not as nice of a bump draft and mostly just a punt. But 30-minute race is still 20 minutes to go, plus the end of that lap. And Andres now 1.3 seconds behind Charlotte as she's trying to check out. Insane drift from Robert. Probably not what he was aiming for right now. Are we going to see Noah get back into the mix if Robert needs more time here? Clear Andres. And we might as well. Robert fully off the track there. That could have been a penalty. It's not impossible, at least. If he gets a penalty there, then he has to take it here, which is extremely costly. Didn't look like it, though. Hopefully he doesn't just disappear now over the line if it did end up being a penalty. No, we're fine, luckily. 37.5 race lap from Charlotte. Setting the pace here. If she keeps that up, then even if Robert makes the move that he, like... It's not as obvious of a matter anymore if he's even going to be able to catch her. Small lift here from Noah, really doesn't want to risk the penalty. He paid the price in the first lap and now decides to go for a slightly more conservative approach. Zillert with a pretty decent last lap. It's close to matching the pace of the guys in front now. Funk a bit further away. Oh, big slide here, a lot of steering angles still going on as he goes onto the green stuff, and then the counter movement from the car sending him into another slide that he takes into the corner looked pretty good. It's not very fast. Robert again making up some space to Andres. Was clearly hoping to get that overtaking maneuver done a bit sooner as Charlotte keeps extending her lead at least slightly, not as much in this lap though. It's a curb here, now has to make sure he doesn't go off track. Like that might have been off track, so again, risk of a penalty. We'll see if he slows down significantly more than usual here. Didn't look like it though. It's the sausage here, very scruffy right now. And again, the time that he made up over the course of the lap to Andries just all lost again in bus stop as he drives almost the same lap time. But at least Charlotte in this lap not faster than them. Because that would really rub salt in the wound right now if she would continue to do mid 37s or even low 37s. Rouge again, cleaner from Robert than from Andres, but just wasn't close enough to turn it into an overtake. Mistake early and bus stop really costing him a bit of a slide here as he missed the apex. Again, as soon as he gets close, it becomes very difficult to find your line as there's just a car completely in the way where you would be looking, and then he just misses the apex slightly. But the exit out of this clean, so if the next corner is also clean, looks like he's a bit wide, but if he can stay on the throttle then it should be fine, and he might be able to turn this into an overtaking maneuver into bus stop. Looks like he's close to him too early. I think he lifted a little bit here because otherwise he would be next to him here. Oh, almost loses the car there again. As a result, too far away again in the spot where you have to be close. 14 more minutes available to try to prepare the maneuver optimally, so he gets alongside at the right moment, but the pace clearly there. 37.2, very solid lap time. Small mistake from Andres here. But even if you go a bit wide there, if you take the first corner a bit deep, you can still be early on the throttle and actually get a bit of that time back on the exit, which it looked like he's done. But Robert's so close. Now, is he going to be too close too soon again? Looks like he lifted a bit there now, so he should... It looks better now. Bit of a warp going on. But if he commits nicely into the next corner combination, then he should have him. Oh, maybe a bit deep. Andres has more than enough space, but can he actually stay in front? Andres back on the inside now, slightly ahead. And he takes the position back. Amazing racing. But probably extremely frustrating for Robert. It looked as if he had him already. Bumps very slightly into Andres, drifts through the corner. And again, with a slide out of that corner, it's too far away again. Most important thing now that he can make that time back up until the next good overtaking zone. And if Andres makes a mistake in the meantime, then would have in hindsight been problematic again if Andres makes a mistake in front, but Robert is just not close enough to turn it into a pass. He just turns it into a time gain, which he doesn't exactly have issues of doing. He is the faster driver right now. Looked as if both Charlotte and Andres were a bit deep into bus stop point there. Robert instead opting for the bad exit. 37.8 for Charlotte, 38.4 for Andres, 38.6 for Robert. So costly still being stuck behind Andres. Andres again going slightly deep into the first corner. So if that was big enough of a mistake, maybe the 0.5 gap before Rouge is what Robert is searching for. If he gets Rouge cleanly now while Andres loses a little bit of time, then he might be fast enough at the right... And I don't think that was it. I think he went off track. So if you go off track there, you definitely have a penalty. So even if he makes the overtake stick now, he's going to have to make up a lot of time to Andres to ensure... he opts for the bump draft, which I assume is because he knows he still has to slow down during this lap. And Andres again takes the bump draft, but then doesn't adjust his braking point. If you're fast, you obviously have to brake a bit earlier, and Robert turning that into a pass, which I think is completely legal considering the bump draft itself wasn't into a braking zone. Andres just making a mistake as a result of that, but now Andres is 1 second behind. Is that going to be enough of a gap to allow Robert to take the penalty that we assume he still has? 0.9, 1.0 could be enough. I think the optimal way to take it is in bus stop by just slowing down a bit more. If you slow down under 35 kph, then you always immediately clear penalties. But you obviously can't be doing that if someone's too close behind you, because you would effectively be brake checking him, and that definitely yields a penalty. Point 6 now after a scruffy second sector from Robert. Andres making up a lot of space here again, and I think that's going to be the position gifted back to Andres because of the penalty. Also, his exit out of here is so clean. Andres making sure he's fast enough when he really has to. So now I'm crossing my fingers that Robert isn't going to try to do anything stupid and park his car in the way of Andres as he has to take the penalty. No, he does it here. You could see that he slowed down way more than you have to. I think he's still... He's stationary. Does he have an issue? He's still stationary there, off track. I think that's Robert effectively out. Looks like he's having some sort of issue. I think he took his penalty already in the first of the 2 corners in bus stop. But is still stationary there. My rig disassembled. Oh my god, that's so unfortunate. That was such a cool fight. I would have loved to see that even longer. That's so unfortunate. So that's Robert out. That really hurts his progress on the leaderboard so far, considering how far ahead he usually is. But I'm sure that during the next races he's going to be able to improve on that again. Very unfortunate. So, that leaves us with Charlotte pretty comfortably in the lead, 4 seconds, as we watch Noah go for another slide on the same green stuff that we already watched him slide around a couple laps ago. Go on board with Charlotte. Let's go, Charlotte, easy first. Sorry if I missed your message, I haven't been looking at chat for a while. Yeah, Charlotte did an insane maneuver when Andres and Robert were fighting and just went through from P3 into P1 and then was never seen again, basically. Andres and Robert just stealing each other so much time as Robert kept trying to make overtakes but couldn't quite get it done. And Charlotte just drove away, and while Andres is obviously now free to go with no cars directly around him, so he might get a bit faster now, I don't think he can quite match Charlotte's pace. I don't see him making the 4 seconds back up in the... How many laps do we have now? Charlotte, as the leading car, goes over the line, so we have 3 laps to go from now. Robert is at least driving again, but he lost over 2 minutes if I'm not mistaken, so almost a complete lap with the leading car now being right behind him, and I think that was a penalty again for Robert. I think he cut a rouge there. It's definitely not his day today. Haunting Charlotte a little bit, going off to the side. Charlotte isn't going to be very happy if Robert tries to defend this. I hope he doesn't. He's lapped. So if there's any danger of costing significant amounts of time, then Robert has to allow Charlotte to go past. Generally speaking, having a car directly in front of you is an advantage because of the tow. But not if Robert continues to drive scruffy corners like this, and I think he's going to let her pass now, isn't he? He shouldn't be defending that. He's a lap back. Charlotte flashing her lights, that's what I would do as well. She's not going to be interested in losing time there, and I'm pretty sure that's a penalty for Robert. In addition to his bad position already in this race, because that is costing Charlotte at least half a second. You really should let Charlotte pass. Yes, absolutely. He's lapped right now. It says so in the regulations as well. So it's actually an explicit thing in the rules that if you're lapped, that you can't cost the car that is lapping you too much time. Charlotte there went to take a penalty, so she also went off in Eau Rouge, and now Andres is 1 second behind her, 1.3. That would be a shame, wouldn't it, if that's what ends up costing Charlotte the lead. Andres 37.9 is a pretty solid pace. So Charlotte is going to struggle to make up more time than that, but I know that she can drive at least those times. So no reason for her to not keep up that gap and ensure that Andres isn't going to get that close. Andres overcooks it a little bit into this corner. Now is a bit far to the right for the next one. Noah still keeping up decent pace, but even with a few things happening here in front, he just wasn't quite able to do the lap times that Charlotte has been doing pretty consistently throughout the race. With 1 or 2 mistakes there, the obvious mistake obviously being going wide in Eau Rouge. So easy to do that with these cars that are completely on the limit through there. So if you take the corner slightly wrong and you want to be full throttle, then you're just immediately off and have to take a penalty and bus stop at the end of the lap. But other than that, very solid driving from Charlotte. Wasn't paying attention to Charlotte's last Eau Rouge, but I hope we won't be seeing her take another penalty here. No. She's just very conservative on the entry there to ensure she gets a good exit out of this. But because of her being so conservative, Andres making up 0.2 seconds. But overall over the lap, it's just a bit more, just 1.5 tenths of a difference. So not nearly enough of a delta for him to attack Charlotte again, unless she makes a bigger mistake this lap, this being the last lap. So, clean Eau Rouge, it looks very good. Yes, that was amazing. Nothing to worry about there. It's grip level right now. I'd like to take a look at that. 99.1. So we are actually with this amount of cars, and because the track is so big, so the cars do relatively few laps, we don't actually reach optimum amount of grip, so the track hasn't rubbered in from the tires as best as it can. The grip is pretty good now, but it would theoretically still get a bit better if the race was longer or there were more cars. Very clean driving from Charlotte, making up a little bit of time again, increasing the gap to Andres. Bit of a slide here, but back on the throttle nicely. So from Andres' point of view, we could see 2 cars ahead, but Robert not actually being ahead. He lost almost a lap because of a technical issue with his rig. So Robert goes over the line first, but he still has a lap to do, and the winning car is Charlotte with Andres in second. Very cool racing, especially between Andres and Robert. It was a real joy to watch. Noah coming home in third after his first lap, and just a very unfortunate cut in Eau Rouge, which, because it was the first lap, cost him so many positions. I think he's going to be happy to still come home on the podium. Zidane in fourth, also decent result, significantly quicker than Frank, and inheriting the position from Robert as well. Very nice race. Frank with a completely destroyed car, as God intended. But still able to make it to the finish line, even though that's not the height at which the bonnet is supposed to be on these cars. And it's also flapping a little bit. But he makes it over the line. So, as Robert is showing us his drifting skills, we are going to go into a short break. And then in 6 minutes, we'll be starting into the second qualifying. So stay tuned. And we're back. Just waiting really quickly for Kai to rejoin the server. And then we'll go into Quali B. So this time with Kai, but not with Robert and Andres. Apart from that, the same field. The drivers can choose whether they want to participate in just race A or just race B or both. If you're interested in driving with us, you're not already on the Discord server, check it out. You can sign up very easily there. We are racing every Wednesday at 19 and 20 Central European time. There we are. Hi. And we start into quali. Noah again, the first one to drive out immediately. Wants to maximize the chances he gets. And Charlotte, I can imagine that Kai is going to go for the last first challenge here, similarly to what Robert attempted to do last race. Punk also out of the pits now. Noah struggling again with the low grip. We'll take a look at it really quickly. 97.3 is, I think, exactly the conditions that we had early at the beginning of quali. But because these drivers have been racing now in constantly improving conditions, it feels a bit weird again to have slightly less grip again. Should be fine. I just try to message Noah really quickly. I think he had a pit box that is farther behind, but this game on Spa, you can actually get a better time if you start out of the pits. You have the first pit box, which I don't think he had, so it should be okay. We'll look at his lap time really quickly. It shouldn't be too quick. Okay, I think it was invalid anyway, so we're all good. If push comes to shove and this happens, then the worst case is that we'd have to restart the quali session really quickly. Charlotte with a valid outlap, but 51.5 is so slow that it doesn't matter basically. And Noah unfortunately immediately invalidates here in a Rouge. So this lap is also not going to be it for him. Charlotte gonna do it better. She goes very far to the left there, but it always works out extremely well for her. It seems as if she stays so long on the left, but then she still makes the turn and work. I think out of all the drivers, she's been one of the more consistent throughout Rouge so far. Takes a lot of curb there, and as a result doesn't get out of that corner optimally fast. It's a bit of curb here, that looked very good. You hit it slightly, it rotates you in a bit more, which in this corner is quite helpful, because otherwise you tend to understeer there with these cars. So after the 46.0 first sector, then a 69.9 second sector, both of which are by a significant margin purple so far. Noah coming over the line, but we know that his lap is not valid because of his Eau Rouge drive earlier this lap. So Charlotte with the first actual valid lap over the line, 38.3. We know that her target is going to be to at least go into the 37s. But a pretty solid banker, I would say. Frank's going to go over the line. I think that's already a valid lap for him. It also seems as if it wasn't too bad. 48. He is going to be quite happy with that, I think. If he makes it under 40, that would be amazing. That lap from Zilla is an outlap. Charlotte already made up 4 tenths in her first sector. We weren't on board with her, so unless she invalidated, this has the potential to be a pretty good one. But it's very far out of here. You can extend there a little bit and it can actually gain you time, but it looked as if she still had too much turning to do too late in the corner, so it did cost a little bit at least. Let's see what both her and Noah's times are in the second sector as they get out of it. Both of them were on a 45.6 first sector. Noah now on a 69.9, which equaled Charlotte's previous purple. But I think with this corner messed up completely, this is going to be slower for Charlotte. It is. Actually not that much, so I think until that point it was a very good lap still, with only the minor mistake that we saw at the end of No Name corner. But now Noah could get provisional pole here if he nails bus stop. Bit of an understeer car behavior into it, but comes out of it quite nicely. Is that enough? It is, and it is easily 37.4. Good lap. Lotte should still be valid, but it might be slower now than her previous lap. Yes, it is. The mistake there before the back straight, slightly in the gravel, was just too big. But we know she has the pace to go even faster than Noah. Ang did a personal best 46.7 in the first sector, then a 71.7 in the second sector. Not sure how fast that is. He seems to think that it's not that good as he stops the car. Still that personal best first and second sector, so if he gets out of here solidly, then... Oh, he didn't actually have a fast lap before that, so this is definitely going to be faster. 2:40.0. Not too bad. Punk is going to have to try pretty hard to beat that. So interesting battle between these two, and at the same time interesting battle between provisional P1 and P2. And then in the race we'll have Kai trying to come from the back. So they're deciding to rev out the engine there. That didn't sound that good. Let's go on board with Noah actually. 45.6 first sector from Charlotte, and the first sector from Noah was extremely bad, so we go back to Charlotte. Bit of a slide here, but the line looked very good. Unfortunately, we don't get the sector delta timing there. We 72, but because we're missing the delta in the top center right now, again, unfortunately, sorry about that. I'm not quite sure how fast that is compared to her previous lap. It's definitely slower, but I don't know by how much. So with some time still to gain in bus stop and her purple first sector, this still has the potential to be an improvement. But it looks as if she's too conservative here on the entry. And then doesn't get out of the corner well either. So that lap not it, plus 1 second, so probably even with a better bus stop that wouldn't have been it. Stops the car and is going to go for another run after this one. It's going to be an outlap for her and then one more try. Noah too wide here, so he's going to invalidate again. You saw that coming when he was already too far in the left for the face of the corner. That's slightly over the grass, so Frank did a personal best first sector, not a personal best second. And this wasn't a fast lap. He already goes to the inside here before he can actually turn in. Even though a certain someone has told him that he's not supposed to be doing that. Big lift here through Rouge, at least then you don't have the risk of invalidating all the time. So a bit more of a conservative approach here for Frank. Let's see what Zilla does, as the candidates for pole position are both on an outlap to prepare their last run. Bit far off the apex here on the left, but still gets to the left in order to properly prepare this corner. Struggling to figure out when to go back on the throttle here. It's a common thing that happens if you take the entry of that corner too slowly, basically. Because then you're done with turning enough, with getting slow enough. Too early in the corner you can actually put it back on the throttle. So the solution to that is counterintuitively to go into the entry faster. A very common corner to have issues figuring out as an intermediate driver. First sector was also not an improvement compared to his previous best. What about the second? That seems to match his previous best. So at least some potential here for him to go fast on that lap. However, we are going to watch Charlotte as Noah. It looks as if he stopped on his outlap. Maybe had some sort of issue. So this is Charlotte with a single attempt to try to beat Noah's pretty fast 37.4. And very solid Eau Rouge, very far on the left. That actually looked a little bit as if she would miss the right curb in the center of the corner, but still perfectly executed. And because she leaves some space, she also makes sure she doesn't hit it and then bounces off it. Slightly faster first sector, but that's not really where the time lies, so not big of a problem. Solid here through this combination. Ensure you're early on the throttle. That looked quite good. Now compare this to what Silla does. She goes into it slightly faster, but she also has that issue, at least a little bit, that she can't quite get back on the throttle once she's finished braking. So it was a bit too conservative on the entry there. But the line still looked solid, as well as the following corner. Bouhon also very good, hits the curb on the right, but make sure she doesn't go into the green, because then the car understeers into nowhere and you lose so much time. Preparing here on the left, turning in, making sure that the next corner you're not too far on the left, entering it. That looked pretty good. Maybe potential to get a bit of a better exit there if you use a bit more of the track. A lot of curb here, but now fully on the throttle, and this matches her previous combined first and second sectors. And if I remember correctly, her bus stop was extremely conservative on her PB. We were talking about that, if I'm not mistaken, if that actually was on her fast lap. So there's definitely potential for improvement, but is it a full second? Noah's lap was extremely good. And I think that's it. She invalidates here. She doesn't hit the backstraight bend perfectly, but as I said, I think it would have been improbable for her to make up a full second in pit stop. Still very solid quali from her in second. So that's still driving improvement for the first sector and also for the second, but quite far away from Charlotte. So Noah in first, very good lap. Charlotte in second, not able to make it work in her last lap. Then Siddharth, then Frank, and Kai is going to try to do the last of first challenge. Now I have to go into the intermission scene really quickly. Sorry about that, as I have to make sure that I have the replay of the previous race saved and join again before Siddharth finishes his lap. And we are in the game already. And now you can see me prepare some of the camera positions, because I'm not allowed to leave the server to do that properly. But I realized that because the time was a bit tight between the two races, that I forgot to save the replay there. So we'll just do this together really quickly. At least so we have a good overview of what happens in the start here. There we go. Yes, definitely good try. I don't think that much would have separated Noah and Charlotte if Charlotte would have finished the lap cleanly, because there was still so much to gain in bus stop in the final chicane. So, as they go through these first corners, we'll have to keep a close eye on what they do here. We've seen this so often already that they will slightly cut here. You can still fully use the curb, so you actually have to go completely off the curb with your car in order to get a penalty here, but then you instantly get a slowdown penalty, which means you either lift, or I think it's at least 10 seconds, which is basically never worth it. Instead, you slow down to under 35 kph at the end of the lap and bus stop, and that just lets people by if you're in the first lap. That's what Noah did in the last race. So, will he be making the same mistake again as he comes from pole? Gets away quite well. All of them getting away nicely. Noah into first. Silat already taking a look there in the inside, but was just too far away. Silat and Frank next to each other. Frank right now seems to be clearly ahead, but Silat is going to get a very good toe out of this, as is Kai. And now look at this really quickly to see if any of them... Oh, that was very close for Noah. Couldn't see it for Frank. So Noah might have a penalty, but I think he's fine. It would be heartbreak if he manages to do that, or if he happens to do that again both races after being on pole. Kai in fourth is taking a look there at Frank, but that would be quite opportunistic as he kind of gets stuck there on the curb. Frank losing him a bit more time than he would like to. Is he going to send it into the inside here? Yeah, Frank goes fully to the outside here. I know that Frank doesn't want to ruin anyone's races, especially with the skill difference being pretty significant between Kai and Frank specifically. This is the open series, everyone can join this, and as such, not all the drivers are on the same pace. And I think it's quite nice of him to not, or to at least do his best to not ruin anyone's races, or defend a position too hard that clearly he won't be able to defend for a full half hour against Kai. But he just made a mistake there and therefore let Silat pass. That wasn't what he was trying to do, I'm sure. So let's go into the instant replay really quickly. Fast forward this, Silat just makes it there into the inside, and then as Frank goes off the Robert in line, he loses so much grip. Slightly on the, fully on the curb, slightly on the green there, and here again in the car. Oh, he actually jumps there fully over the curb. That could have gone a lot worse. It looked pretty cool, but was probably not that nice if you're the driver. Was Noah off track there fully? Not sure about that. We'll go on board with him really quickly to see if he has to do the slowdown penalty. He doesn't. So that was a valid first lap for him. Hoping he'll continue to do that so we get a proper fight between P1 and P2. Very commendable for Frank to drive even though there's a larger skill gap. Absolutely. Also, it's not as if he's completely alone. He has Zilda to compete with. And as he's getting better, there's obviously an opportunity to catch some other people as well as profit of other people having issues. For example, in the Nürburgring race, that was the last event, we had both Kai and Finn after... Was that invalid from Noah? I'm not quite sure. We had Kai and Finn, one after each other in both the races, make contact with the wall in the Nürburgring chicane. And then Frank is suddenly in the race with someone who then has a damaged car and is then not faster than him anymore. So always positions to gain here. I'm hoping it was valid, even if it was definitely not fast. Charlotte very close behind. Oh yeah, I think Noah took the slowdown there because he decided that it would be better than effectively... almost losing the car there, than effectively brake checking Charlotte into bus stop. So again, the slowdown penalty costing Noah the lead. I remember the chicane incidents, yes. Funny, Kai did that because he got annoyed by his mom, apparently, which is the icing on the cake. Going a bit wide here. Kai is going to be enjoying that, some free time to gain before the next overtaking opportunity in the back straight here. His goal is going to be around 0.4 seconds or so of a gap to Noah out of this corner. He didn't quite make that. We'll see if he can still turn it into an overtake opportunity. But he also doesn't really care about the toe here. Takes a tighter line as Noah runs around the ideal line a little bit. So his next opportunity then is going to be at the end of the main straight. .37.3, pretty good pace from Charlotte. And Kai actually not faster, that's interesting. He's obviously around cars the whole time. But the more of a gap Charlotte opens now, the more of a chance she has to stay in front until the end of the race. But it's not going to be easy, as we know how fast Kai is. Kai now maybe a bit too fast, he's a bit too close, too soon. It now has to lift back out here because you just cannot overtake into a Rouge unless you're already all the way ahead. And now he tries to make it work, but because he didn't have that much of a momentum advantage, he's not going to get significantly ahead, is he? At least slightly gaining on Noah, but Noah is still going to be firmly on the inside. It looks as if Noah is outbraking himself, yes. Noah going way too deep, Kai pressuring him into trying to take a deeper braking point in order to ensure his position, but that actually losing it to him. And Kai now in P2. Going to chase for victory here. Very far off here, all the way on the asphalt. I don't think you have to worry about a penalty there. Extending a little bit there is quite worth it, but not that much. Insane slide from Kai, goes into the gravel. Is that going to be an opportunity? Noah doesn't approach the corner fully from the outside. Looks like he was a little bit irritated there by Kai, and therefore he doesn't have a momentum advantage out of this corner. I'm sure Noah would be happy with getting towed a little bit here towards Charlotte. But with a bad bus stop chicane, he's too far away to gain a lot of a tow now. But Kai's time in, was that clear air for the whole lap? Is still not faster than Charlotte's purple. It is faster than Charlotte's last lap though, by 0.7 seconds. But with Kai, as we watch him hit Rouge properly, couldn't have been much more to the left, otherwise it would have been a penalty, but that's how you want to take it, barely valid. Definitely gaining on Charlotte slowly but surely. Very clean driving now, not going all the way towards the wall there at the end of the corner. I know Charlotte and Kai were talking a bit between the races about Charlotte wanting to practice so much that she'd be able to beat Kai in the next races. We'll see if this is the one already. It's not gonna be easy. But now in the second half of the lap or so, it looked as if Charlotte was quicker. The entry of bus stop seems to be costing her though, probably still taking that a bit too conservatively. So Kai has purple now, albeit slightly, with the entirety of the lap being almost half a second faster than that of Charlotte. So at this pace, he would be catching her in around 3 laps. That's 8 minutes or so. So after then, still a pretty long way to go for Charlotte to try to hold the position. That was very close. I think it was still valid, but it was very close. The penalty would be a pretty big setback here for Kai. Comes off the inside curb on the left there a little bit, and here again on the curb. Loses the car a tiny bit, but always collects it quite quickly again, so the time loss is pretty minimal. And there he slows down, so that definitely was a penalty. How much time is that? I think he was up to 1.0, 1.1 before he did that, and now he's at 2.1. So that costs a full second when you make that mistake in Rouge. And I think that was already a close to optimal way of taking the penalty. I know you can take it in bus stop, where you're already very slow and then you just slow down under 35 kph, but I don't think it's that much better than what he already did. Just there. I think that's just a connection issue for Kai, so as he flies off into the distance, I hope he's still going to reappear. He has reappeared, but he has reappeared with damage. And significantly behind, so whatever the hell just happened, we're going to see if it's visible in the replay. But it looked like some sort of technical difficulty. So he makes contact with the wall there, and it looks as if that contact with the wall actually happened. Obviously, the flying off into the distance after that was a connection thing. But the contact happened because Noah is now significantly in front, and Kai's car seems to be quite damaged. We watch him drive a little bit to try to figure out... Oh, he definitely has connection issues, doesn't he? That's not gonna make it any easier. So, good news for Charlotte. 5.5 second gap to Noah, who seems to be slower in race trim than Charlotte is. With a bit more than half the race to go, it looks as if this is a pretty good opportunity for Charlotte to make it 2 wins in a row. Yeah, we already saw Robert with technical difficulties earlier, and now it's Kai. So in both races, the arguably favorites of the race having non-racecraft, non-racing related issues. Or just like in real life, just like an actual car can have issues, your sim rig, your connection, all of that can also have problems. And reliability was, as far as I know, not being common for Kai. I don't think we've seen these issues for either Kai or Robert so far this series, both of them having participated in multiple races already. But we'll see what Kai's pace is now. Increased difficulty with the damage, but it doesn't look as if he has super bad suspension damage or anything. These cars can look extremely banged up and as if they're completely broken, and driving wise still be somewhat fine, providing you didn't damage your suspension. And if there's suspension damage, then it doesn't look that bad because the car seems to... It looks a bit under there. I think there is suspension damage, but it's not horrible. That's what what it looks like. It would be front left. That's where he hit the wall. If I'm not mistaken, he is still gaining time on Noah at least. And we'll see what the lap times are over the line. Charlotte with a 38.1, Noah only with a 39.3, and Kai with a 37.3. So Kai is actually still pretty fast. If he has suspension damage, then it's not that relevant. He's still in play for, definitely for second place, but maybe even for the lead, depending on what they do up front. We'll take a look at Charlotte really quickly. Yes, Arouche looks good. The biggest source of error so far. Noah also manages to do it properly. And Kai was very close. We take a peek at the replay really quickly. Just to see how close it was. And if we are expecting a penalty there. No, nah, he's fine. He's fine. That is pretty close, but he's fine. Still making up time. He's still quite quick, even with the damage. And as I said, that of course he has rear traction issues twice. Then almost goes into the wall there. Commentator's curse again. But most of the time Kai he makes it up to Noah, but not specifically to Charlotte, as Charlotte in race trim just more consistently fast than Noah, even though so far in quali Noah has been ahead. I think Noah just did a pretty good lap each in both qualies. Are the other guys' cars looking? Doesn't look as if they're badly damaged or anything, or not at all. They've been keeping it clean so far while we weren't looking. Over the line, Charlotte 38.6, Noah 39.7, Kai 38.4, so not a particularly good lap from any of them basically. So as usual, let's take a good look with the outside camera so we can see the right wheels, where they are in correlation to the curb. That looked quite good. Noah making it, but only because he slowed down. There was a pretty significant lift that you could hear in the engine note. Kai again quite close, but fast. But if he wants to make up enough time to Charlotte, he really has to get a move on now. With Charlotte not significantly slower than him, only a little bit. It looks as if the best he can do is going to be second place if he's able to attack Noah successfully. There's still going to be a pretty significant difference in top speed because of all the bodywork damage that Kai has, even if the suspension is somewhat fine. And that obviously doesn't help with overtaking, because of the aerodynamic disadvantage of a banked up hull. Very wide there for Noah. Definitely not the fastest line around there. Also fully over the sausage there. That also doesn't help. Kai decides to do it as well out of sympathy in the following sausage. So again, Kai makes up significant space towards Noah, but only a very slight time gain compared to Charlotte. Even though it's purple from him. Charlotte just also with a very good lap. We didn't see it from Charlotte there. Noah definitely valid. Kai also looked valid. Misses the apex here. It goes very far on the curb, and then when you drive back on the curb, you get a little bump where you can't steer in properly. So Noah gaining some time again there compared to him, but Noah taking a very wide line here, then outbraking himself, never really touching the inside of the corner, and just like that it's 4/10 gained by Kai. Another 2 out of this corner. Scruffy lap so far from Noah. If Kai can keep this up, maybe it's going to be an overtaking attempt already at the end of this lap or the beginning of the next one on the main straight. That's much better from Noah though. A lot of lonely in the lead. It's driving very solidly again after the last race was already so good. She always takes this entry quite conservatively. We saw that earlier and she's still doing that. 38.2. We'll see if that's going to be a lap where Kai finally makes up good time. 37.5 from Noah, very strong. 37.0 from Kai, also very strong. But only 0.5 second gain because Noah's lap was so good now. So let's go back into the dedicated Eau Rouge cut detection view. Charlotte again very clean. Noah has to slow down again, otherwise he would have cut. That was actually still very close even though he slowed down. Kai is going to be there at the end of the straight. He won't be able to make it here. But gained 3/10 or so from Eau Rouge on. Because of this slight slowdown from Noah in order to make sure he doesn't cut it, and therefore the time loss throughout the whole of the straight where both of them are just fully accelerating. Kai flashing his lights. Noah very wide line there again. But he's not going to make it too easy. He has a motive to defend this now because with 3 or so more laps to go, it's not impossible for him to keep the space. And to stay in P2. It goes so far off the track here, I think that's it already. I've seen this mistake before today. And Kai just goes past. Maybe under pressure made it a little bit too easy for him there again. If he gets a couple very clean corners here, he has a chance out of this corner, considering that Kai's top speed should be worse, and he'll then have the toe. And this looked pretty clean, but in the corner before that he lost too much time, I think. 0.5 away, that's only a very slight toe, if any. It doesn't look as if he's really getting anything. Also now isn't properly behind him. It doesn't help. He should make sure that he's actually fully behind him. That looks better. Kai just so much more consistently on the limit throughout this, so whenever there's a corner and he doesn't mess it up, he gains a little bit of time every time. Charlotte 38-0, so Kai, even though he did an overtake, is a bit faster. We saw though that because Noah effectively, if albeit unintentionally, let him pass, Kai's lap was still quite a normal lap, except being blocked very slightly by Noah the 2 or 3 corners before that. So again, just not enough of a time difference, as this is the second to last lap. And Noah goes off track, and that's it. He's going to be losing at least a second there because of that penalty. On board with Charlotte. I don't think Noah has taken his penalty yet, has he? Is going to be doing that in bus stop. Hopefully he doesn't forget. It's a bit too easy to overlook the message at the top of your screen, but if he forgets it, he goes over the line, then he just immediately gets disqualified by the game. 50 kilograms of ballast for Kai for not setting alien lap times. Well, I think he has applied the ballast himself by managing to break his car again. We're not entirely sure what happened. But it looked as if he had a connection issue that also sent him into the wall, and then when he was back properly on the server, he was a couple seconds behind Noah. With damage. Doesn't seem like he has huge suspension damage, maybe a little bit, but the hull damage is pretty bad. So let's watch Noah do the slowdown of shame. Oh, that was not good for the engine. You can break the engine if you shift down too fast. And that script, he did not have connection issues. Well, we have to make it interesting somehow, you know? That's how we do it. I have a little switch that just drops Kai's connection really quickly, as well as sends him into the wall. Charlotte valid Rouge. It was close, but valid. That was also valid. Charlotte infected Kai's PC through in-game chat. I know that both of them were chatting between last week's event and this week's event, where Charlotte essentially says that she was gonna practice so much that she can finally beat him. And it's looking good. As she tries to go on the throttle too early here, the classic mistake out of that corner. On board with her. Conservatively taking these corners. Nothing else should matter, just don't throw it away. Taking her braking point in the bus stop. Watching her take it very conservatively again, that's how she does it. Takes the sausage for good measure, but what gives? Back-to-back wins for Charlotte in both race A and race B. Spa's her track today. Amazing drive from her. Whenever she got into the lead, she was just completely gone. Kai deciding to finally go for a 36 time. It says final lap at the top. Oh, I thought that they were already done, to be honest, but I think they still have one lap to go. Sorry about that. Surely this is not going to be the worst commentator's curse you've ever witnessed, where Charlotte is now going to make some sort of mistake. Oh no, Noah has stopped. I think the final lap message at the top is... They seem to also not be sure. Charlotte and Kai are still driving and Noah isn't. That also isn't. I thought that it already said final lap before before Charlotte was over the line. A bit of a confusing situation here. The server is already also not skipping, so the server also seems to think that the race is still going on. And all the others who have gone into the pits shouldn't have. I'm going to take a look at the VOD really quickly. If I can find it. No, it definitely said leader is on final lap. The lap before. So it should be over. Charlotte just likes to drive after the race. Yeah, okay. I just looked at the VOD and I got confused because we also didn't get shown. Yeah, we're good. Okay. Okay, so slight confusion there, but that was indeed the finish of the lap. I didn't see that completely wrong. So solid win from Charlotte back to back. Amazing racing. It was pretty cool to see Kai catch back up, but after that issue that he had, apparently some sort of connection issue that also seems to have sent him into the wall. It was just not possible for him to get back into the lead, but still very solid recovery to P2, and then Noah on P3. Great racing. There were some pretty cool maneuvers in the first race as well, with Charlotte taking 2 places out of bus stop to go into the lead and then just disappearing. Yeah, super cool race day. Looking forward to next week. I have to look it up really quickly myself. It's going to be Laguna Seca, so completely different track to this. Very narrow and twisty, overtaking usually a little bit more difficult. But a very, very flowy track. We'll see. Thank you for watching. I hope you'll all be there next time as well. And goodbye.